Hi lovely and darling viewers, it's Jen here at chekherjoy, and I'm doing another Vote Coasters. And this one is going to be my Midwest coasters. I picked up my last credits at Kings Island and Cedar Point, and then we went to Kennywood, Dorney, Knoebels, Darien Lake, and picked up a few single credits along the way. So the very first thing we did, which was super exciting, was go to Kings Island during Coaster Stop. So this is a park-sponsored event, and you get extra ride time, exclusive ride time in the mornings and the evenings. There's also a chance to ride the kiddie coasters. So we picked up Great Pumpkin Coaster. I had this credit. I rode it in 92 when it first opened, and I was actually a kid and we went. But I didn't really remember it well. So this is a 1992 coaster by E&F Myler. It's just an oval shape. It gets to 8 feet tall. 8. Single digit there. And this coaster isn't even 200 feet of track. It did open originally as Scooby Zoom, but now it is the Great Pumpkin Coaster. So very standard kiddie coaster. All the way down to the bottom with my other kiddie coasters. Closest probably Little Devil Coaster. Great Pumpkin, I'm going to put above Little Devil just because I like the theming better. They're not terribly different. Little Devil is actually taller. Great Pumpkin did have surprising, like, there was like a pop of like a little bit of airtime, like a little like, oh, I feel myself kind of jumping a little. That was fun. And then on this trip, I also rode Diamondback for the first time. This is the first time we went to Kings Island after I had ridden Magnum. October of 2021. Although I did ride Nitro and Mako before this. So Diamondback was like, okay, we're going to do it now. Not too worried at this moment. I was the last time we've been to Kings Island, but anyway, this is a 2009 B&M Hypercoaster, 230 feet tall, 15-foot drop, 80 miles per hour. Similar stats to Nitro and Mako. It's really in there. The problem with Diamondback is that it's at Kings Island, and I really, really love Kings Island's coasters. I mean, there's the Backlot, going up the coaster list. I've got Mystic, the Beast, Adventure Express. So Backlot's kind of brought down by its supporting coasters. I'm gonna put it below Mako, but they're all really fun, really good hyper coasters, good airtime. Orion, on the other hand, is a 2020 B&M Hyper / Giga Coaster. The model is a Hyper Coaster, but it is a Giga Coaster. 287 feet tall, but it has a 300-foot drop, and it gets up to 91 miles per hour. This is my first Giga. So scared when I rode this, and when I got off of it, my legs were just like jelly. But it does have some good flying sensation. It's fun. It doesn't have the repeated airtime that the B&M Hypers that I like have. So it's pretty. I like the space theme, but it's not as good as those. Rather than my like 3 like really good hypers, these are probably better. I'm sorry, Ryan, you're good, but you're not as good as I was expecting. After I'd ridden all these B&M hypers, I'm like, Orion's gonna be great. It's like, it's fun. It's not that amazing. I'd rather just go. My brother rode Orion a couple times without me, and I rode like Adventure Express 3 times while he rode Orion once. It's also brought down by the fact that I can be riding Adventure Express or the Beast instead. I'm gonna put it above Cedar Creek. And then that is all my Kings Island credits, guys. Look at that. It's all black. Ah, so pretty. Okay, there is one other coaster at Kings Island we need to talk about, is the Beast. It did get retracked, but it changes the game a little bit. So I'm going to re-rank it. The coaster was originally built in-house in 1979. It was designed and built by Kings Island staff. It opened as the world's longest, tallest, steepest, and fastest coaster, and it's still the world's second longest coaster overall and the world's longest wooden coaster. But when they retracked the Beast, they actually made it longer, so it gained 2 feet, which is kind of crazy to me. So it's now 7,361 feet long. But the part that really matters is the helix, because they did the bottom of the first drop and smoothed it out and made it a bit steeper, which added the little length to it. But the part that really matters is they redid the helix. They did about half the helix, I think. But the main part is they did the part where you first go into the helix, which was painful. Because you get like slammed to the right really fast and hit my elbow, and I have to like sit in the one seat and hold my elbow up. But it was still like my number 3 coaster, so it isn't painful anymore. The Beast doesn't hurt anymore, guys. It's so good. Yeah. So yeah, as soon as I got off that coaster, I was like, yeah, this is number 1. This is my favorite coaster now. Like, it's over. It's the Beast. Beast doesn't hurt. Oh, it's perfect. It's perfect. I love it. Alright guys, next up we have Cedar Point. Picked up Millennium Force. I rode the first Giga. It's actually my second Giga though. So this is a 2000 coaster. It's by Intamin. It's the world's first Giga coaster. First coaster to go over 300 feet tall. It is 310 feet tall with a 300-foot drop and reaches 93 miles per hour. And it has overbanked turns that are amazing. I love Millennium Force. It's like my number 3 at this park, behind Gemini and Magnum. So the question is, where does it fall on this? It's way better than Orion. Yeah, at least above the Mad Mouse. Sorry, Mad Mouse. You're really good, but you're not Millennium Force. Also rode Valraven. This is a 2016 B&M dive coaster. We did this after Williamsburg, so after I'd ridden Griffin, which is also a B&M dive coaster. Valraven is 223 feet tall, 214-foot drop, 75 miles per hour. My favorite part of Valraven, though, is the fact that it spells out a cursive Ohio when you're standing over by the sky ride. So that's a nice feature. And I also really like that Valraven gets super long lines. So those aren't people waiting for Magnum or Millennium Force or Gemini. But otherwise, I don't really like Valraven. It's just boring. Once I got over my fear of heights and rode Millie, Valraven's not scary anymore. And I think Griffin does the diving bit better. So by the time I rode Valraven, I was just like, oh, this is what I was scared of. Okay. So Valraven's going down in the boring coasters. Harry Potter and Escape from Gringotts is better than Valraven. And then I rode Steel Vengeance. This is the 2018 RMC. It overhauled Mean Streak. This one gets 205 feet tall, 200-foot drop, 74 miles per hour, has 4 inversions. It goes through its structure, which as a claustrophobic person, I don't like. I got off Steel Vengeance and I was like, I viscerally hate this coaster. I hate the fact that I'm being thrown around like a rag doll. There's no handholds on this. I rode it like 5 times. Like I tried to rewrite it. I'm like, okay, we're gonna try it again. I'm like, nope, I don't like it. Okay, so the question is, would I rather ride these coasters that were painful versus Steel Vengeance where I just don't like being thrown around? Reptilian is where we start getting iffy. Actually, in Vertigo, I think it needs to go up some. I rode in Vertigo and managed to not get headbanging. Okay, and Vertigo went up in the rankings. We just decided to change it. It's fine. Good to reevaluate. So Steel Vengeance is down here. It's better than Reptilian. These were all painful. Steel Vengeance is better than those. I'm sorry to everybody who thinks this is the best coaster in the world, but it's not fun. I hate it. Okay, moving on. During coaster stock, we rode the kiddie coaster, so I got to ride Wilderness Run, which was my very first coaster, probably. It opened as Junior Gemini in 1978. It's Intamin. It's actually Intamin's first coaster. It reaches a whole 19 feet tall, 6 miles per hour, and is 443 feet long. I was super excited to ride my first coaster over again. It is more exciting than Great Pumpkin Coaster, even taking away like my first coaster bit. Teddy Bear at Sticker's Grove. That one should be higher. And then we have Woodstock Express at Cedar Point, which is not the same as the Woodstock Express at Kings Island. Woodstock Express opened in 1999. It's a Vekoma. It gets to 42 feet tall and it gets up to 28.5 miles per hour. Good, solid second coaster. We're going to put it over by Woody Woodpecker. It barely ekes out Wilderness Run. Okay, so that is all the open coasters at Cedar Point. Yay! Coaster stock. The other part of that was going to Kennywood. So we actually did go to Kennywood twice before that. We went in last November, actually, and rode just Jackrabbit. That was the only coaster that was open during the holiday event. But opened in 1920. It's a wooden coaster by John A. Miller, 40 feet tall, 70-foot drop that reaches 45 miles per hour. But the most important thing is that it has a double dip, which is super fun. And you also don't really have a lap bar. There's like a bar you hold onto and a seatbelt. So you definitely feel the airtime as it does that dip and you get like float out of your seat. I did rank this last year because I had ridden it between me filming and coaster voting ending. So I did sneak it in. Let's say I had ranked it just below Raven at Holiday World. Yeah. Alright, we went at the end of May, actually right before we went back to Cedar Point, and I rode Steel Curtain. This is a 2019, it's an SNS, 220 feet tall, 75 miles per hour, it does 9 inversions. RNCDB wants to count the banana roll as 1, but really it flips over twice. You straighten out and then flip again. It also is fun because it has this Drachenfire drop where you're right at the top and then you go down and do an inversion right at the top, like right after the lift. That's fun. The rest of it is kind of like, okay, we're doing inversions. Is this smooth? I do like the forces at the very bottom when you're not doing inversions, but you're coming down from those giant drops and you're just like going straight for a bend. There's just like 70 miles per hour and your face is like floating backwards. I do like that, but it's not as good as like say a B&M Hyper. It's fun, but it's not like amazing. I've ridden a lot better coasters with better inversions. And then we went and rode Phantom's Revenge, which is amazing. This originally opened in 1991 as Steel Phantom, which was an aero coaster. They redid it in 2001. Morgan did. Some of it is still aero track, like the lift is still aero. I think the first drop is still aero. But they went through and modified it. They took out the inversions, so it's just a straight hyper coaster. It is 160 feet tall, but it drops 228 feet because it goes off the cliff. And then it also has fun interactions with Thunderbolt, the wooden coaster next to it, and the Turtle flat ride too. It gets up to 85 miles per hour and just so good. It's definitely the best ride at Kennywood. What, Mad Mouse? You're not as good as. The problem is the Mad Mouse isn't as good as Verbolten. I think that's my problem. And then Millennium Force, Phantoms of Revenge, Verbolten. There we go. That's the ranking. Alright, Phantoms of Revenge, you are in the top 10, and Verbolten, you're hanging on. Next up is Exterminator. This is a 1999 Reverchon spinning wild mouse. So kind of like Galaxy Spin, but inside. I do like the theming, so that's going to elevate it above Galaxy Spin. And it's really fun, completely lights off, which we did during Phantom Fall Fest. Oh, I grabbed Skyrocket instead of Steel Curtain, my bad. Let's delete that. I apologize. Okay, this makes more sense. Exterminator is better than Steel Curtain. Above Orion. I'm also looking at this list and realizing that Maverick needs to go higher. Vadar, but it should be above Orion and Cedar Creek Racer. So this is a 1927. It's by John Miller. This is a racing coaster. It's Mobius, so you start at the one side of the station and end up on the other side of the station when you finish. You kind of got to ride both sides to completely do the course. This one is only 72.5 feet tall. Has a 50-foot drop and 40 miles per hour. Is really good racing coaster though. You're side by side. Get some high five moments in. So I'm looking at Kings Island's Racer. Kings Island Racer has better airtime, but I kind of like the experience better on Kings Island's Racer's problem is you're not side by side the entire time, and especially since you complete the course on the outsides, you really have to pay attention to you have to be looking right before you hit the brake run where there's like this wooden wall to see who won. I think I'm just gonna put Kennywood's Racer right above Cedar Point or Kings Island. I mean, they are the same. You do both basically. I mean, you do have to leave and come back, but I'm gonna rank them the same. We also have Little Phantom. This is a 1996 Molina and Sons coaster. It's kind of similar to the Great Pumpkin coaster. It just goes in oval, does some hops, gets a little bit of airtime. A first starter coaster. Put it by Woodstock Express at Michigan's Adventure. Great Pumpkin coaster, Little Devil coaster. It's right in there. Comes down to theming on these. Okay, that leaves us with Skyrocket. This opened in 2010. It's Premier Rides. It's the Skyrocket 1 model, guys. This is up to 95 feet tall. I think I wrote 50 miles per hour. I can't read my notes. And does 3 inversions. It has a really fun top hat. I like the launch. It has this kind of bit where you kind of weave back and forth. I like Skyrocket. It's basically what I'm saying. It's got fun moments, fun laterals. Good airtime. Love the top hat. So it feels like a wild mouse, but it does inversions. Like if you upgraded a wild mouse. It's an elevated wild mouse. Nah, I'd rather ride my Skyrocket. Just kidding. So there we go, 22. Okay, Thunderbolt. This one opened in 1924 as Pippin, which was designed by John Miller. It got a revamp in 1968 by Andy Vettel and became Thunderbolt. So it's 70 foot tall, has a 90-foot drop. We're going into a ravine. A lot of Kennywood's coasters are terrain coasters. It gets up to 55 miles per hour. It has such good laterals. You have to ride with somebody else. They will not let you ride this on your own because of the lateral forces where it just throws you side to side. And I love laterals. I'm going to separate Voyage and Ravine Flyer 2. I'm going to do it. Ravine Flyer 2 is a bit intense. A bit on the intense side for me. Alright, we also went to Knoebels. First we rode Black Diamond. This is an indoor coaster. It's more of a dark ride, but it definitely has strong coaster parts to it. It opened in 1960 as Golden Nugget at Dinosaur Beach in New Jersey. It opened in 2001 at Knoebels. It is a steel/hybrid. It's PTC by John Miller, and it's 35 feet tall. We're going to put it above Orion. It didn't impress me. I had higher hopes for Orion so much. But yeah, it's more fun than Cedar Creek because of the theming is what's elevating it, and it is definitely part of that. Then we went and rode the famous Phoenix, which originally opened in 1947 as the Rocket at Playland Park in Texas. It got moved in 1985 to Knoebels. It is a wooden coaster. It's a PTC. It was designed by Herbert Schmeck. And relocated by the Din Corporation. It was also the first major coaster that they can moved that much. I had to label each one because they didn't have the blueprints anymore. Each board had to be labeled and cataloged and then moved. And Knoebels takes a lot of pride in their wooden coasters. They've done amazing work keeping it up. Okay, stats is that it's 78 feet tall, 72-foot drop, I think, 45 miles per hour. Yeah, and it constantly wins the golden ticket for wooden coaster. So it's really good. It does fantastic airtime. I think I'm almost standing at parts of this coaster. And the buzz bar. Love Phoenix. It's really good airtime, but I really love laterals. That also leads us to Twister, which opened in 1999. It is a wood coaster by John Fetterman. It is based off Mr. Twister at Elitch Gardens. They ended up not being able to relocate that coaster. That was the original plan. So this one is 101.6 feet high, 89.6 foot drop. The fun part about Twister is the laterals, and it does a giant helix around the station, which is so much fun. I mean, I still love the Beast helix better, but Twister is so good. I like Twister better than Phoenix. I think it's just above Phoenix. Just barely missing the top 10. The other coaster we rode at Knoebels was Impulse. This opened in 2015 by Zier. This is a steel coaster. It's like a Eurofighter or Skyrocket, but not exactly. Different layouts. This gets up to... Okay, I can't even read my notes on this one. Basically, it does 4 inversions. It has a vertical chain lift. It's doing a lot of really quick transitions. A super compact coaster. It's fun. I'm going to say Skyrocket's more fun. The Impulse is also solid, and they feel similar. They're fun. We went on a weekday, so Flying Turns doesn't open on weekdays. So we didn't get to ride Flying Turns, which is their wooden bobsled coaster. It's the only bobsled coaster I really want to ride just because it's all wood. And that's interesting to me. And Cosmo Curves is a kiddie coaster. And then we did Knoebels and Dorney back to back. We were on that part of Pennsylvania, so we just did them together. Took a weekend. The first one I rode was Wild Mouse because it's so low capacity. So we rope dropped that one. Literally there was a line all waiting for this one coaster. It opened in 2000. It's by Maurer. It is Wild Mouse. 49.3 feet tall, 28 miles per hour. Solid Wild Mouse. Not as good as Mad Mouse. Also not as good as Laugh Track. Apple's Apple or Wild Mouse. And I think Apple's Apple wins. It's fun to say. I'm sorry, but when things are similar, I start putting in theming and the actual name of the coaster. They're really similar feels from what I can remember. We also rode them months apart though. Then we rode Hydra the Revenge. This is 2005 B&M Floorless. It's fun naming because it replaced a coaster called Hercules, hence the revenge part of Hydra. 95 feet tall, 105 foot drop, 53 miles per hour, does 7 inversions. Its standout moment is a JoJo roll, which is a really slow heartline roll right before the lift, right after the station before the lift. It's super slow and you feel all of those movements, and I thought I was going to hate it, but actually I really love that JoJo roll. The rest of the Hydra is pretty much feels like an invert. I know it's a floorless, but it feels like the B&M inverts. So Hydra the Revenge is going here below Laugh Track, but definitely above Alpengeist. So next up we rode Thunderhawk, which opened in 1924. This is a wooden PTC coaster by Herbert Schmeck. 80 feet tall, 65-foot drop, 45 miles per hour. So Thunderhawk is a solid wooden coaster. I'm going to rank it by Holiday World's wooden coasters. And Comet at Hershey, Jackrabbit at Kennywood. I'm going to put it below Legend. Legend, yeah, solid. Solid, but nothing stand out about it. We also rode Steel Force, which is a 1997 Morgan hypercoaster. It is 200 feet tall, has a 205-foot drop, 75 miles per hour. It feels like Magnum if Magnum prioritized floater a lot more. I know my brother doesn't think they're close, but they're kind of close. So the B&M Hypers do the airtime a lot better than Steel Force. I will give you that. But I also really still enjoyed Steel Force, so I'm going to put it up here behind Apollo's Chariot. I think that's it. And then we also rode Talon, which is a 2001 B&M invert. It does 4 inversions, 58 miles per hour, 135 feet tall. Put the other inverts. So I'm going to stick it down here. I liked Hydra better, actually. So below Alpengeist, above Orion. That's where Talon goes. Possessed and Open, which is really sex. I wanted to ride the relocated Chocolate Coaster. And I really like Wicked Twister, and we didn't ride the Kitty Coaster. And then the last big park we did in the Midwest was Darien Lake. I mean, it's in New York, but it's on the western side of New York. It's really close to the PA border. And actually, via the freeway, it's only 3.5 hours away from us, I think. It's closer than Knoebels and Dorney to us in Cleveland. So we rope dropped Ride of Steel. This is the 1999 coaster. It's an Intamin. It's a mega coaster / a hyper model. It's 208 feet tall, 205-foot drop, 73 miles per hour. So Ride of Steel has similar restraints to Millennium Force, so it felt like Millennium Force. It's not going quite as fast, it's not going quite as tall, obviously, but it has these really fun giant helixes. Ooh, love helixes, guys, especially giant helixes. So yeah, Ride of Steel's up here towards the top. Not as good as Millie. Putting Ride of Steel above the Mad Mouse. Mouse is falling fast. From number 6, and I was down to 14. I feel so bad. I love that coaster so much, but also these are really good coasters. We also rode Predator. This is a 1999 did wooden coaster designed by Curtis Summers. 95 feet tall, 50 miles per hour. Part of it's been retracked with Titan Track, which is metal track in high stress areas to keep the coaster smooth for as long as possible. But the parts that didn't have Titan Track had like a nice shimmy to them, which I love about Din coasters. It's what I remember about my first coaster, Raging Wolf Bobs. Is what I love about Wolverine Wildcat. Really, really love. I think I like Wolverine Wildcat slightly better than Predator, but this is definitely like a really fun coaster. Ooh, Maverick and Banshee are here. Yeah, sorry, Maverick. You're good, but you're not Predator good. You don't make me laugh out loud. You should be funnier, Maverick. You should be. Then we rode a Boomerang Coast to Coaster, which has a great name. This is a 1998 Vekoma shuttle coaster / a boomerang model. 116 feet tall, 47 miles per hour. 3 inversions, but you do them twice, frontwards and backwards. Similar layout to Invertigo, but oh my gosh, that is such a better. Nothing by your ears to bang on Boomerang Coast to Coaster, as far as I remember. It was so perfect. God, I hate boomerangs. I wrote this in like, actually, this is not bad. Boomerang Coast to Coaster is splitting up Hollywood Riverside Rocket and Incredible. No, it's not. It's just beating Runaway Mine Train and the Corkscrews. But in Vertigo, the other boomerang I've ridden is all the way like down here. From 103 to 71 is huge difference between those two boomerangs. Okay, I also rode Motor Coaster. This is a 2008 Zamperla. It's a straddle coaster. It has a flywheel launch, 0 to 37 miles per hour. Gets to 42 feet tall. Super fun. It's also really compact. Put it below Skull Mountain. Alright, then we have Viper. This is a 1982 era looper. It reaches 121 feet tall, 75-foot drop, 50 miles per hour, and it has 5 inversions. It's super pretty. Super pretty setting. It was rough and a lot of shaky. It's definitely got janky aero transitions. It's better than the corkscrew models, but it wasn't as good as Boomerang Coast to Coaster. I really wanted Viper to be amazing and be up here by Anaconda, but it wasn't. put it above the corkscrews. And then we rode Tantrum. This is a 2018 Gerstlauer. This is a Eurofighter, 98 feet tall, 52 miles per hour, does 3 inversions, vertical lift, feels like the Skyrocket. I'm going to put above the racers. Close, but not as good as those ones. But I also really enjoyed it. We rode Mind Eraser. That was literally the last thing we rode before we left. This is 1997 Vekoma SLC. It's an invert, 109 feet tall, 49.7 miles per hour, 5 inversions, and oh my gosh, it is so badly designed. Rode it. We were done. We were done with, like, I did ride a flat ride after it, but it was the last coaster we rode. It hurt a lot. So much headbanging. Like, it's, I don't know why it has so much headbanging and vibrations, and it's just not well designed. I hate it. Yeah, no, it's worse than Shivering Timbers. I'm sorry. I can appreciate that Shivering Timbers has good airtime for people who love that. I do not have anything like, what does Mind Eraser offers? Nothing. Unless you like headbanging. Okay, now it's time to hit up my single coasters, the ones that are just surrounded by themselves, surrounded in small little amusement areas that aren't giant parks. So I rode Serial Serpent at Fun Times Park in Alliance, Ohio. This is originally Python Pit at Go Bananas in Illinois. That was there from 1997 to 2020. Serial Serpent, I think, just opened this year. Last couple years anyway at Alliance. It's a kiddie coaster. It gets up to a whole 15 miles per hour, although I do like the snake in the front. So we're going to rank it with the other kiddie coasters. Okay, we also rode Fiesta Express. This one was at Fun for All in Cranberry Township, Pennsylvania. This is a 2003 Zamperla. It's called a Minnie Mouse, M-I-N-I Mouse, which I super think is adorable. This one is just the top part of a Wild Mouse as far as I'm concerned. It just weaves back and forth. I think it's 8 feet tall is the stat I looked up. And 262 feet long. Like, it's short, it's small, but it's super fun. It's adorable. I loved it. We also went back to Sugars Grove, which for an ACE event this year, American Coaster Enthusiasts. So I did ride Tornado again, and it wasn't as bad as I remembered. So it should actually go up higher. I'm going to move Tornado up. We also went to the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium in Powell, Ohio, near Columbus, Ohio, and they have Sea Dragon. This is the 1956 wooden coaster PTC by John Allen. It is similar to the Woodstock Expresses. I think it's the oldest coaster in Ohio, the oldest wooden coaster in Ohio now that Jogga Lake is gone. Putting it down here. It is a standard kiddie coaster. So we hit the scene 75s in Ohio. I rode Nuclear Rush for the first time. This one's the one by Columbus on the Dublin, Ohio. This one is 2019 SBF Visa spinning figure 8 coaster. It gets to a whole 14 feet tall. Whirlwind at Waldameer has the same coaster, basically. I'm gonna give Whirlwind slightly higher than this. But we also went to the Scene 75 in Dayton, Ohio, closer to Kings Island in Cincinnati. That one opened in 2020. It's also an SBF Visa figure 8. This one's taller though, gets to 20 feet tall. So Tsunami's actually the better of these 3 coasters. But still not as good as Rigger. Alright, that is the coasters I rode in the Midwest that were kind of all over the place in multiple different trips and several different weekends and coaster events. And I'm up to 142 coasters. Woo! And then that actually should square us away for my final trip where I picked up a ton of coaster credits when we went to California in October. Here's the current rankings. I love the Beast so much, guys. It's so good. It's perfect. Now they fixed it and it's perfect. So I will put the links to the previous boat coaster videos and the last one when I post it in the description below. These will be chapterized so you can find your favorite parks. Let me know in the comments below if you've ridden any of these. Do you agree with any of my rankings? I know coaster enthusiasts do not agree with all my rankings, including Steel Vengeance especially. But that's just, I hate that coaster. Every time I got off that coaster, I hate this. I hate it. So, I just really hate that coaster. Alright, there are my rankings. Got my other videos. Check out my Instagram. It's also chekherjoy, where I post my roller coaster photos. Peace out, guys. I love you. Keep reading, keep riding roller coasters, and have some fun. Bye.